A few years ago, about a month after I had taken over as CEO at ASEA, one of my close friends passed away. He was 42 years old, left a family of 4 children, and he and I had met each other over 25 years prior, and he had long been one of my life's greatest heroes. I flew out to his home, having been invited to speak at his funeral, and asked for a few minutes quietly in his office where he worked from home. When I walked into the office, sitting there in front of me was a children's book. I almost felt like he had left it as a message for me. And I sat in a chair in my friend's office and quietly read this children's book, and immediately knew that it needed to be a part of the ASEA ethos that we shared around the world. The actual book itself was based off of a short story by Leo Tolstoi. And the name of the book is The Three Questions. And I want to take you through quickly this story, this children's story. Many of you know that I have 6 children. I'm no stranger to kids' books. Will you let me treat you like one of my kids today and share a child's story with you that actually signals some beautiful principles that are a big part of the ASEA ethos? In our story, there was a boy named Nikolai who felt uncertain about the right way to act. He said, I want to be a good person to his friends, but I don't always know the best way to do that. And Nikolai's friends understood, and they wanted to help him. If only I could find the answers to my 3 questions, Nikolai continued, then I would always know what to do. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And what is the right thing to do? And so Nikolai asked his friends. He asked his friend the heron, and she replied, plan in advance. He asked his friend the monkey, watch and pay close attention as a coconut's falling down to hit him on his head. And then he asked his friend the dog, who replied, you need a pack to help you know when is the best time to do things. He posed his second question, so who's the most important one? The heron said quite selfishly as she flied in the sky, those closest to heaven. The monkey, who had now been hit on the head by the coconut, was selfishly concerned with those who know how to heal the sick. And the dog, who seemed politically motivated, said, those who make the rules are the most important ones. He then asked his third question, so what is the right thing to do? Again, the heron replied somewhat selfishly, flying, doing what I can do. The monkey, less concerned about things, said, have fun all the time, don't worry about things. And the politically motivated dog from a pack said, fighting is the right thing to do. Well, Nikolai was not entirely pleased with his answers, and so he hiked high up into the mountains where the old turtle lived all alone. He went to the turtle, who was digging in his garden and working quite hard, and said, I have 3 questions, and I came to ask for your help. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And what is the right thing to do? He noticed that the turtle was tired and said, you must be tired. Let me help you. The turtle gave him his shovel and thanked him and sat down on a rock. And as they worked together, a storm arose, and Nikolai heard a cry from across the bridge. He ran down the path and found a panda, a mother panda, whose leg had been injured by a fallen tree. He carried the panda carefully back to Leo the turtle's home and made a splint for her leg with a stick of bamboo. When she awoke, she said, where am I? And where is my child? And Nikolai quickly realized that her baby was also in the storm. Nikolai ran back into the storm and was able to find her baby panda. The little panda was wet and scared, but alive. Nikolai carried her inside and made her warm and dry, and then laid her in her mother's arms. Leo the turtle smiled when he saw what the boy had done. But Nikolai continued with his questions until the old turtle described the answers. Yesterday, if you had not stayed to help me dig my garden, you wouldn't have heard the panda's cries for help in the storm. Therefore, the most important time was the time you spent digging the garden. The most important one at that moment was me, and the most important thing to do was to help me with my garden. Later, when you found the injured panda, the most important time was the time you spent mending her leg and saving her child. The most important ones then were the panda and her baby. And the most important thing to do was to take care of them and make them safe. And then he summarized, remember, there's only one important time and that time is now. The most important one is always the one you're with. And the most important thing is to do good for the one who is standing at your side. For these, my dear boy, are the answers to what is most important in this world. This is why we are here. You can imagine the feelings I had when I sat in my friend's office who had just passed away and pondered the implications of these three important questions. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And what is the right thing to do? If you stop and think about it, at ASEA, answering these questions the way we were taught by the turtle, which is that the most important time is now, the most important one is the one that you're with, and the most important thing to do is to do good for and by the one that's standing at your side. I immediately began to think about the good that you do at ASEA, the impact you make. I immediately began to think about the importance of time and taking advantage of right now. I immediately began to think that the greatest philosophies and ethos in the world are those that are actually focused on other people, not on ourselves. And came back and shared this at a convention a few years ago and asked for your agreement that this should be part of the ASEA ethos. So let's summarize the three questions. Just when is the best time to do things? The best and most important time is now. Who is the most important one? The most important one is always the one that you're with. And what is the right thing to do? The most important and the right thing to do is to do good for the one who is standing at your side. And so I challenge you to live the answers to these three questions. When is the best time to do things is right now. Who is the most important one? It's the one that you're with. And what is the most important thing to do? It is to do good for those that are standing by your side.